News on top of the hour.
Live from our studio in Georgetown.
Kaieteur Radio, 99.1 FM.
Good morning and welcome to this, your main newscast, right here on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. I am Josh Van Sleckman. Thank you for joining us. Just before we bring to you your news in details, let's bring to you today's front page comment from the Kaieteur News that is titled, Harman needs to speak, stand and deliver. How long is opposition leader Joseph Harman going to dodge critical questions on the oil and gas sector? As he should know from scriptures, little brother Joseph was sold into slavery by his own brothers. Yet, he turned around and rescued them in their hour of great need. This is what we at Kaieteur News call upon our own brother Joseph to do. Don't sell us down the drain with this oil, but give us expectant Guyanese brothers and sisters courage and strong leadership in our time of need, just like the biblical Joseph did for his own people. Look at the vice president who gets away with babbling about releasing a whole set of things, permits, licenses and reports, but delivers absolutely nothing. Guyana needs an opposition leader to stand up and say something tangible, say something meaningful on his oil and gas of ours. Mr. Harman should know that the longer he keeps on dodging, the more suspicious, even terribly compromised he appears. When a man takes a vow of silence to this extreme in matters of national importance, then all Guyanese is left to wonder who he is protecting, which political friends is he covering for, and willing to make himself look lacking in understanding of his role and the expectations that goes with his responsibility. To the opposition leader, we at Kaieteur News says, stop the silence, stand up, say something, do something, live up to the demanding obligations that are part of the oil patrimony and national political leadership. And now for the top stories we're tracking right here on Kaieteur Radio on December 20th, 2020. Today's the 1-year anniversary for oil on our leaders still to put 30 safeguards in place to protect Guyana's wealth. No end in sight as Exxon continues to pollute Guyana's airspace. Oil-rich South Sudan traps in dangerous cycle of debt. And the EPA has authority to correct Exxon outdated Liza Phase 1 permit now. And halt all promotions. Cops with pending matters, says the Police Service Commission. Get the details of these stories and much more when the news returns. Packages, season's greetings from Kaieteur Radio. And now for the news in details right here on Kaieteur Radio. Guyana's been operating without even half of the fundamentals for the efficient governance of oil and gas industry. Even before production began, the country benefited from lessons shared by the World Bank, the IMF, Chatham House, the Natural Resource Governance Institute, the IDB, and a slew of others. These organizations handed to Guyana critical recommendations on how to gear up to handle the influx of revenue from the looming oil sector, along with prudent advice to help mitigate significant value loss and corruption safeguards. But 1 year later, key pieces of advice given have not been acted upon. Some of these include a review of the Local Content Policy 2020, with the implementation of accompanying legislation, putting into place appropriate technology offshore to monitor the measurement of oil remotely and establishing a depletion policy. Get the full list of 30 safeguards in today's Kaieteur News. Today marks 1 year since ExxonMobil began producing oil at its Liza 1 operations in the Stabroek Block. About 100 miles offshore, it should have been a momentous occasion as it signifies the first commercial oil venture in Guyana. However, there are too many worrying signs. Aside from the country being ill-prepared to manage the sector, ExxonMobil continues to harm the environment by flaring billions of cubic feet of natural gas toxic into the Liza 1 operations. What's even more of a concern is that to date, the U.S. oil giant has not publicly set a date in sight for the flaring to be cut down to zero. We tell you now that the Republic of South Sudan is a landlocked country in East Central Africa that is trapped within a borrowing cycle that is finding it very difficult to get out. The country continues to borrow funds from multiple major financiers for projects to lend in its development. Despite having billions of barrels of oil reserves, the country is finding it difficult to drag itself out of debt. Anti-corruption watchdog Global Witness sounded the alarm in 2015 when its parliament approved the decision by the government to negotiate a loan of hundreds of millions of dollars with the Qatar National Bank, and Global Witness called the loan risky. Given recent revelations that there is no commitment for comprehensive disaster insurance enshrined in the Exxon's Liza Phase 1 environmental permit, the EPA has the opportunity to go back and amend the document so that Guyana is not trapped in a cycle of debt for generations if there is a massive oil spills. The agency headed by Sharifa Razak can assure that Exxon provides document assurance that it accepts unlimited liability for any disaster which occurs at its producing Liza Phase 1 operation, where as many as 120,000 barrels of oil are being produced every day. 7 senior police ranks have written to the Police Service Commission through their attorney C.V. Satram, demanding all promotions be halted until outstanding disciplinary matters they are involved in are concluded. The ranks all hold senior positions and have matters that go far as 2016. The request was formed on the basis that the Commission is allegedly using pending matters that should be. The request was made on the basis that the Commission is allegedly using pending matters that the ranks are involved in as a direct means to stifle their promotions. We tell you now that a thief was caught in a Superbet outlet located at Zeeburg Public Road, West Coast, Demerara, attempting to steal some cash and other items. The compound problem was after hours when the business was closed that the intruder was caught. The suspect was identified as 47-year-old Satnan Sad Shadio, a laborer of Zeelat squatting area East Bank, Essequibo. According to the police report, the incident occurred between the hours of 19:30 on Friday and 1:30 a.m. on Saturday. You're listening to us right here on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. This is your main newscast for today, December 20th, 2020. President Irfan Ali has promised an audit of the 25,000 COVID-19 cash grant currently being distributed. This comes after concerns were raised that there might be discrepancies in the distribution. In September, the president had announced that every household would receive the 25,000 cash grant to ease the financial effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Following this distribution began later in September, with residents from regions 1, 7, 8, and 9 benefiting first. It was stated that they were given priority due to the vulnerable economic states of those hinterland regions. On Thursday, the president stated that he instructed the Auditor General's office to conduct an audit which will verify whether or not the cash grants were properly distributed. The introduction of the 2016 Civil Procedures Rule and High Court Rule would have represented the dawn of a new era for the Supreme Court of Judiciary. The implementation of a new procedure meant that the High Court had adequate guidelines and mechanism towards facilitating speedily trials, thereby reducing the backlogs of cases that was in the system, in some instances for decades. However, the CPR rules brought with a new challenge and a delay in the production of court orders. With the court now churning out hundreds of matters on a daily basis, and the registries having the sole responsibility under the new CPR to produce the orders, members of the bars are finding it difficult with the length of time it takes for the orders to be produced. And finally, at this time, a grandmother and her 2-year-old grandson died on Friday following a boat mishap in the Palmoon River, Region 2. Meanwhile, the grandmother, who was at the boat at the site and said to be intoxicated at the time, is in police custody. Agatha Gill and the toddler, identified as Marley, drowned around 20 hours in Friendship Canal, Lower Palmoon River, Region 2. Reports are that her husband, Riley Gill, and the woman were returning from imbibing with the child in their care. He told investigators that he entered the Friendship Canal and his propeller stuck a coconut husk, causing him to lose control of the engine. The boat then crashed into the edge of his left side riverbank and capsized, covering them underneath. And with that, we've come to the end of your main newscast right here on Kaieteur Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. Let's remind you that you can get the full details of these stories and much more by picking up a copy of the Kaieteur News at a newsstand near you or head across to our website at kaieteurnewsonline.com. I am Joshua Van Sleckman. Thank you for joining us, and I take this opportunity to wish you and your family a Merry Christmas and a prosperous 2021.
And that's the news of the moment. Remember to get the full details of these stories, pick up a copy of the Kaieteur News. And don't forget, you can catch us on the MyTuner app as well as the Radio Garden app. You can also keep up to date by liking our Facebook page at Kaieteur Radio and subscribing to our YouTube channel, Kaieteur Radio Livestream. Oh, also catch our stream at www.kaieteurnewsonline.com/radio.
Guyana, let me ask you a simple question. Would you buy 1,000 chicken